And hello everyone, welcome back to a new nim tutorial. In a previous tutorial we talked about parsing our .ini files. If you haven't seen that one, it's a great watch, but you don't need it to follow along with this one. So in today's tutorial we'll be taking a look at, instead of parsing ini files, to instead parse CSV files. These are often most commonly found in, let's say, when you're working with a large amount of data. This could include things like the username, the email, and the age of a person. Anyhow, so yeah, it's very simple. You have whatever the field is, a comma, the next field, comma, the next field. The stop here is a header field. It explains what all of the following fields will be structured like. And here you have the actual fields. So like a mini database where we have the username, this is the email, of course, and this is the age. All right. So let's get started. I'm just going to delete these two files. So the first thing we want to do is we want to import std/ParseCSV. And this will allow us to parse CSV files. So let's create a parser, which is of type CSV parser, which is from this import here. Then parser.open, and we can open up this users.csv. So users.csv. Then we can echo out parser.headers. Now by default, parser headers are nothing, so it's empty. But we can read them by going parser.read header row. And what this will do is it will read this row right here, which is the header explaining what the following values would be. So now if we run this, we'll get username, email, and age. We can also specify the separator with single quotes, not double quotes. So single quotes, this is to specify a character, not a string. Now the separator is this part right here. It can be anything. Most commonly you will see it as a semicolon or a semicolon or whatever that is called. But sometimes you will also see something like this or something like this. But most often, most common practice is to use this. So now, instead of getting this one big sequence here, we can just run it again, and we'll get each one in the sequence as such, because now we're parsing with the correct separator. Now we can, of course, go echo parser.read row, and this will read the next row. So in this case, it will start with the first row, and for each read row, it will go to the next row and read it. So then, if you run this, we get this. Now by default, you'll just get true, which means, yep, it has successfully read that row. But to get the current row data, you can say row. And that will return the current row data. And without that, because it's not a function, so then if we run this, we get true because it did read it, and then here we get this. So Mike with the email and then the age. So Mike, email, age. And then finally, we can do row entry, and we can specify which one of these we want to fetch. So if we want the email as an example, we can specify the email field. And just so we don't get confused, let's just discard this output. And if you don't remember, discard basically just means take whatever this output is and just throw it away. We want to run the function, but we don't care about the output. Now, if we were to run this, we'll get mag.com, which is the email field in here. Now, let's say we read another row. Then we can echo out parser.processed rows. And this will return the number of rows that has been processed, or in other words, number of rows that have been read. So in this case, we have read 3, and that includes this header up here. And then we can just say parser.close, And this is good practice to make sure you close the file after working with it, because if another part of your program is maybe reading this file, or another program also wants to read this file and you didn't close it after working with it, you might get an issue where you cannot read this file, or the other program cannot read this file because they assume this program is still open with it. But anyways, that doesn't really put any output, it just closes the file. Working with CSV files in Nim is incredibly easy, and this is really all there is to it. It's as simple as this. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all again in the next Nim tutorial.